So I'm just going to introduce this program firstly. Uh, what this program does is takes a word, a medical term, and then parses it into its parts. And then it'll put it into my database here. And it seems like it's a very simple thing to do, but it's really not. At least not for me as like a relatively new uh, like programmer. Um, in terms of using it, I'll demonstrate it first and I'll briefly explain how it works. So firstly, what subject? This corresponds to the four sheets types, sheet 1, sheet 2, whatever, in the Google Sheets. I'm just going to pretend that hematocrit is a pathological term, even though I know it's completely not. Input term, hematocrit. And I'm going to type it in an American spelling because I will explain in a few seconds, but you like online databases often follow American spelling because America is the world's superpower, etc. Even though medicine originated in Europe, obviously, lots of things are Americanized. Type the number of desired subheading. So what I've done here is the program automatically detects my 3 subheadings here. Actually, it's the hyphen which it detects, and then it categorizes, and then I'll be able to categorize it because I don't want to mix up cardiovascular system and spine. They don't have too much in common. So I'm going to type 2 for cardiovascular system, CVS. And then it will give me, don't worry about that, that was a marker. It will give me that. And that is what I want to input into my table here. I'll explain what this means now. L0, X1. So this is the equivalent in Latin, Greek, and or English, usually in those 3 languages, it doesn't have to be. And it's the equivalent without breaking it into its parts. For example, claudication is an English term, but if you have a claudicatio, the Latin term, you see how that you're not actually combining claudicatio with any other term. You're just bringing it straight from claudicatio and making it English or anglicizing it. So that's what this is for. It's optional, as I said, because not all terms have it. For example, hypertrophy probably is like hyper plus trophy. It's probably Greek, I think. But yeah, that's the equivalent term. And then there's also its morphology. Morphology just means breaking it into its parts. So claudicatio has claudico. It's a verb to limp in Latin. I should say Latin. There's artio, which is a functional suffix, and I'll talk about functional suffixes in a second, but they are often used to change between word classes. For example, I'm assuming this is a verb, obviously. Claudicatio is a noun. Limping is a noun, technically, even though it's a gerund. Claudicatio, artio would probably change a verb to a noun. It's very common in Latin. And yeah, so in terms of this template, I have 3 empty strings here because hematocrit doesn't have a equivalent term that I've defined, but it has its hemato term, and its crits term, which is this Greek here. I'll note that Greek can be Latinized or Romanized as well, and that is under my classical ancient Greek sheet. So the Latin terms that come up in the English sheet, such as anatomy and pathology, they'll automatically cycle through and into, or sift, not sift, but cycle into the Latin and Greek pages respectively. And those pages are for like rote learning, if you want to rote learn Latin, because rote learning Latin is so much easier than rote learning English, in my opinion. Maybe I'm biased because I did Latin and I already know lots of Latin words, but yeah. Okay. So now I'm back to pathology. If I have term equals hematocrit, so this is just a testing section. The reason why I'll tell you in a second, but I'm just confirming each item in the list, hematocrit. So I click enter if it's fine. If I want to change it, for example, let's say I don't want to, okay, I got a good idea. Let's say I have hemato, and I don't want to use American spelling. So an A here. So I just replace it. Blood, Greek, That's Greek. Sure, that's the definition of this Greek here. Successful, and then you see how it's automatically entered it here in alphabetical order as well. And that's just stage 1 of the project. In future stages, it will automatically update to the other pages. One final thing I want to say, in terms of what this can be used for, it can also be used for like when you have the morpheme crit, hematocrit. Once you get the Proto-Indo-European root for that, you can get other English terms that have come from that same root, such as the word critic. So I found out that hematocrit is actually, where is it? I'm just going to type it in again. Hematocrit is actually from hemato plus krites, meaning judge. And if I follow that path to Greek to decide to judge, I get this Greek term. If I go to critic and I go back to the etymology section as well, I also get that Greek term. Krino, meaning I judge. What that means is that they come from the same root, and you can use that to help you understand what crit is, because you're judging blood. Doesn't really make sense. You're separating blood by extension. You're understanding that hematocrit is the percentage of red blood cells in blood. So you're separating components of blood. So yeah, that's one use of it. Now I'm going to go into the mechanism behind the program.